Bispham was recorded in the Domesday Book, back in 1086 if you're counting, as Bispham, meaning the hamlet of the bishop, although exactly which bishop that was and why he wanted to live here is anybody's guess. All Hallows Church is certainly old enough for that interpretation of the name to make sense though, or at least the arched Norman doorway with the signs of the zodiac carved into it is. Said church stands on the appropriately named All Hallows Road, along which the original village of Bispham ran. That's what we're covering in this film, incidentally, the original bit. The rest of Bispham, the sprawl of hotels along the cliff tops, the illuminated trams, the immature graffiti in the shelters, the Highlands pub and all that, well, that can wait for another time. Nowadays, the old village of Bispham is recorded as Churchtown on the Ordnance Survey maps, although in reality nobody ever calls it that. Time was that, not so long ago, All Hallows Road consisted mainly of thatched cottages from the Tudor period. Only a few of the old bits remain nowadays. There was a big redesign of the place in the 1960s when my old school, Montgomery High, with its tuck shop and its headmaster in his stupid Batman cape, was added. I could furnish you with amusing anecdotes about Mr. Kerwin and his hideous medicine ball, Mr. Caswell and his gold tooth, and Mrs. Hodges with her 6-stone Bible that she used to smack us about the head with. But I won't. They're all dead now, and life's all the better for it. The old cobbled cottages have gone now too. Even the Red Lion, a favourite watering hole of ours back in our student days because of its close proximity to Ashfield Road College, has changed beyond all recognition. This might not be a bad thing. All Hallows Church, next door to which Violet Carson, of Ina Sharple's fame, lived with her sister in a bungalow built by her parents, also had a holy well in its grounds, suggesting that the church was built over an earlier pagan site. Presumably there was an ancient cross somewhere close by as well, probably of the keel variety. In the hedge across the road at the long since demolished cross house on what is nowadays the Gala Field. They still crown the Rose Queen here in summer, or at least they did until COVID wilted her petals. This bit of Bispham just north of Churchtown is officially known as Little Carlton Detached, aka Horseman's Hill, the latter name derived from the ghost of the Headless Horseman who haunts the driving range. I just made that last bit up. Let's see how long it takes before it makes it into the paranormal database. There was a river here once, the River Rither, mentioned in Kathleen Ayre's 7 Golden Miles. At times, such was the flow that one resident remembers people rowing past the cottages in boats, and children being ferried part way to the Sunday school by the same means. Said river's gone now. Originally it followed the Brig, a cobbled wall where, according to those in the know, the local parliament sat and passed judgment on the world. That was somewhere near the modern-day Tesco Express. From there, the aforementioned river followed All Hallows Road to Bridgend House. In the olden days, over winter, the river would flood and Bispham residents would be able to skate all the way to Ankersholm. And that's an interesting name, is that? Ankersholm? Lots of place names end in home around these parts. It's a Norse word. It means a bend in a river, such as Whitehome Lane. Now, I don't want to sound like a cliched old fart, but when I was younger, Whitehome Lane was all fields and sheep and horses and stuff. Nowadays, the canker of Lego houses has spread. There was a stables on the corner of Ashfield Road and Whitehome Lane back then, where Tracy Bonney used to feed apples to the horses on her way to college. The horses were periodically let loose on the field reserved for badly behaved dogs nowadays. Coming back to the river, there are no prizes for guessing where Bridgend House got its name. From here, the River Rither continued northwards, past a bit of Horseman's Hill known as Higham. Even though there's nothing very high around here, apart from some of the students, through Little Bispham and the aforementioned Ankersholm, where in medieval times the abbot of Julacrest washed his dirty sheep in Little Bispham Mere, and on towards St Andrews in Cleveleys, known back then of course as Riverham. At one time, North Drive also ran across these fields. If you look at the maps, you'll see that North Drive still exists at either end of the said playing fields. We got talking to some old bloke several years ago who told us that North Drive had sunk several times into the marsh when it was being constructed and eventually had to be abandoned altogether. When I was a kid, in an attempt to save my bus fare for a bag of humbugs and a can of 7-Up, which for some reason back then we believed contained human blood, we really were pillocks, I'd walk home from Montgomery School across this land, being careful to avoid the practising archers with their deadly arrows and large wicker targets. And no, I'm not kidding. I also wasn't born in the 14th century, so don't start. There's a nature reserve, or a place to empty dogs or something at any rate there now. God only knows when that sprang up, but it could do with some benches. It seems to be part of Lancashire County Council's ongoing project to cover every available scrap of land in brambles and flat-pack houses, though. An ancient right-of-way ran round the back of Ashfield Road College and across the Gaylor Field once. It probably still does, although it's a bit overgrown now. There was a cordoned off patch of ground a few feet square next to it with a sign that read, "Radiation, do not enter." What that was about, we never found out. As you probably gathered, we haven't got any transport again this week, so it's time to stop this episode abruptly and get some lunch. Subscribe if you like, and with a bit of luck, we'll all meet up again on the flip side.